Welcome to the Arguing from Ignorance policy breakdown for the 2017 general election in the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, which will take place on Thursday the 8th of June. Unlike previous pre-election videos which tend to run long, this one will be a series divided up into an introduction, several policy videos based on election manifestos, and an examination of likely outcomes based on polling data. This video will explain why there's an election just 2 years after the last one and briefly recap on the changes in UK politics as a result of the 2016 referendum to leave the EU, several by-elections, and the 2017 local elections. As usual, this series is independent of any political group or campaign, and its purpose is to better explain the goals and policies of each party so that the electorate of the United Kingdom can cast a more informed vote, and the rest of the world can cheer and boo along with them, hopefully expressing less befuddlement than they'd otherwise have. So why is there another election just 2 years after the last one? There's a long-standing and apparently unresolved problem in British politics whereby the ruling party has historically had the power to call a snap election at any time the polls swung in their favour. In 2011, the Fixed Term Parliaments Act was passed to remedy this by setting regular elections every 5 years from 2015 onwards. But it also included a provision whereby a general election could still be triggered at any time with a 2/3 majority vote in the House of Commons, which theoretically took this power away from the Prime Minister and the ruling party. Unfortunately, in practice, parties in the minority will almost always roll the dice on a chance to increase their numbers, which is why on April 19th, when the Prime Minister called for a snap election, MPs voted yes by an overwhelming 522 votes to 13, with every member of the Scottish National Party, who already control a supermajority in Scotland, abstaining from the vote in protest. But the Conservatives already control a working government majority of 17 seats, and Theresa May made repeated assurances to voters that she wouldn't call an early election. So why did this position change? After the EU referendum, the Conservative government was concerned, justifiably so by how MPs voted in the referendum, that they didn't have enough votes in Parliament to trigger Article 50 and begin the formal process of leaving the European Union. So instead they tried to bypass Parliament entirely and do it through executive action. This resulted in a High Court case, Miller v Secretary of State for Exiting the European Union, in which the government effectively sought the power for the Prime Minister to pass new laws and change the constitution of the United Kingdom unilaterally, without a vote in Parliament, citing the authoritative mandate given to her by the will of the people. Not surprisingly, the High Court ruled against the government, and when the Conservatives appealed, the Supreme Court ruled against the government. So an Article 50 bill was drafted, and it passed the third reading of the House of Commons by 494 votes to 122. However, the House of Lords added 2 amendments to the bill, one to protect the rights of EU nationals and another to give Parliament a meaningful vote on the final Brexit deal. Both of these amendments were narrowly struck down by the Conservative majority with almost unanimous dissent from the other parties. In Theresa May's statement announcing the snap election, she lambasted the House of Lords for proposing these amendments and similarly condemned the opposition parties for supporting them. Through this election, the Conservatives hope to gain a stronger majority in the House of Commons such that some of their more controversial decisions over the next 5 years, which are likely to draw dissent from their own party, can be passed without opposition. What is the current political state of the parties? On the national level, there have been changes in 15 constituencies since the 2015 general election. 4 Labour MPs died, 4 resigned and 1 was suspended, resulting in 2 lost seats and 1 vacant seat for Labour. One of the deceased MPs was notably Joe Cox, who was murdered a week before the EU referendum by a right-wing terrorist for views that were pro-European Union. 2 Conservative MPs resigned and 1 sought re-election as an independent, resulting in 1 Conservative seat lost to the Liberal Democrats and 1 gained from Labour. 2 Scottish National Party members resigned from their party and became independents, and UKIP's only MP, Douglas Carswell, left the party to become an independent. Both Plaid Cymru and the Green Party have retained the seats they won in 2015. On the local level, there have been somewhat more substantial changes due to local elections in early May for these 88 councils, 32 in Scotland, 22 in Wales and 34 in England, which account for about 1/4 of the total councillors and 1/5 of the total councils in the UK. The result was a considerable win for the Conservatives, gaining 563 councillors and control over an additional 11 councils. Labour lost 382 councillors and 7 councils, the SNP lost a council, and UKIP completely collapsed at the local level, losing 99% of its councillors. There were also 8 mayoral elections, half of which were won by the Conservatives and half by Labour. So the Conservatives still command the same working government majority in the House of Commons that they won during the 2015 election. And though their victory in the 2017 local elections was decisive, the big picture remains relatively unchanged, with their control of councils nationally only having increased by about 2%, and Labour's having decreased by about 3%. Thank you to the following patrons who supported this video. If you'd like to contribute, please check out the link and consider donating $1 or more toward the production of future content. Over the next several videos, we'll take a look at the policies offered by each party on a variety of issues, starting with Brexit.